It was the end of October when Clara Benson, a 17-year-old student, stayed late in the old attic of her family home. The wind howled through broken window panes, rattling the shutters like skeletal fingers. Dust danced in the pale moonlight that spilled through the cracks. Clara had been curious about a small, locked box she found hidden behind the old wardrobe. Its surface was covered in strange carvings, symbols she didn't recognize. Just an old curiosity, she whispered to herself, brushing off the dust. The attic creaked, not like normal would settle it. This was deliberate. Someone, or something, was moving with her. Clara shivered. She grabbed the box and opened it. Inside lay a blackened mirror, small and oval-shaped, framed with twisted iron. The air grew colder. Her reflection didn't move quite right. The eyes lingered too long after she blinked. A whisper echoed softly, almost inaudible. "Clara, say." Her heart pounded. She blinked again. The reflection smiled, but she hadn't. She tried to put the mirror back in the box. It wouldn't fit. And then she heard it, a low, scratching sound coming from beneath the floorboards. The attic door slammed shut. Clara was not alone. Clara sat on the dusty floor, hugging the blackened mirror to her chest. The attic had grown colder. Frost formed on the corners of the window, even though it was only late October. Then she heard again the whisper, "Clara, look." Her blood ran cold. It was coming from the mirror itself. She sat on the floor and leaned closer. The reflection wavered like smoke. For a moment, she saw herself, but with hollow eyes and a twisted grin. A sudden crash from below made her jump. The staircase creaked as if someone, or something, was moving up. Her little brother, Ethan, had been in bed for hours. No one else was home. Clara grabbed the mirror, hoping to leave, but her reflection stayed behind, grinning. The whisper came again. "Ethan is mine." Clara ran to the stairs. Her flashlight flickered. Shadows clung to the walls like living things. Downstairs, Ethan's bedroom door was wide open. Inside, the room was dark, too dark. A faint scratching sound came from his closet. "Ethan," Clara called, her voice trembling. No answer. The closet door slowly creaked open, revealing darkness that didn't belong to the room. A cold wind escaped, carrying a faint voice. "Clara, stay, forever." The lights in the hallway flickered violently, and the whisper became a chorus of voices. Children, women, men, all calling her name. Clara realized with a shiver that the mirror wasn't just a mirror. It was a window, and something on the other side was hungry. She clutched her brother's hand tightly. They weren't safe. Not yet. Clara carried Ethan to the attic, hoping to barricade the door. The mirror pulsed softly on the floor like a heartbeat. Its surface shimmered, reflecting not the attic, but a dim, twisted version of their home. Walls cracked, shadows moving where they shouldn't. Ethan tugged at her sleeve. "Clara, she's in my room," he whispered, voice trembling. Clara froze. "Who?" He pointed toward the mirror. In its reflection, a pale girl with hollow eyes and blackened fingers reached toward them. Suddenly, the attic door slammed shut behind them. The lock clicked. Clara tried to open it. It wouldn't budge. The whispering grew louder. "Clara, join me." Clara grabbed a chair and smashed the mirror. Shards flew, but instead of breaking the reflection, the shards floated midair, forming the girl's face. "You can't escape me." Ethan whimpered. Clara held him tightly, feeling his small body trembling. She remembered the attic's history. Decades ago, a girl named Veronica Hall had disappeared while experimenting with mirrors and seances. Rumor had it, she never left the attic. Her spirit became trapped, feeding on fear, growing stronger every year. The air grew thick. The shadows stretched and bent unnaturally. The mirror fragments spun around them, whispering, chanting, laughing. Clara knew what she had to do. She had to confront whatever haunted the attic, or it would take Ethan. Clara dragged a chair to the center of the attic and placed Ethan on it. Her hands shook as she picked up a candle and lit it. Shadows danced along the walls, reaching toward them like long, hungry fingers. "Veronica Hall," Clara whispered, voice barely audible. Show yourself. Leave us alone." The shards of the mirror floated higher, circling above their heads. The cold in the attic deepened until Clara could see her breath in the air. A soft giggle echoed from the walls. "I never left." The floating shards began to glow faintly, forming the outline of a girl. Thin, pale, eyes black as pits. Her fingers stretched unnaturally long, brushing the edges of the walls. Ethan clutched Clara's arm. She wants me," he whispered. Clara felt a chill run down her spine. She remembered the old journals she had found in the attic, describing Veronica's obsession with contacting the dead, believing she could trap a spirit to live forever. Veronica's face twisted into a grin. "Forever," she whispered. The shards swirled faster, forming a vortex of shadows and whispers. Clara felt herself pulled toward the center. She realized the truth. The spirit didn't just haunt mirrors. It fed on attention, fear, and the living presence of the curious. Clara grabbed a shard, holding it like a weapon. "We don't belong here," she shouted. The shard burned her hand, but the spirit recoiled slightly, screeching. The whispers turned to shrieks, echoing through the attic. Ethan's eyes widened. He pointed at the far corner. Another mirror, dusty and forgotten, reflected the attic and something else. Another version of Veronica, smiling, waiting. Clara knew she had to end the seance before the spirit fully crossed over. The attic shook violently as the mirror shards formed a spinning vortex above Clara and Ethan. Veronica's voice was everywhere, soft, taunting, and horrifying. "You cannot leave. This is mine. Mine to keep." Clara's hands shook as she held the largest shard like a shield. "I'm not afraid of you," she shouted. The shards pulsed with energy, slashing through the air as if trying to grab her. The candle flickered violently, casting distorted shadows that seemed alive. Ethan cried, pointing to the shadows. She's taking me." Clara grabbed him. "No, you're staying with me." The spirit's figure emerged fully from the vortex. Veronica, pale and twisted, her eyes black voids. Her fingers stretched impossibly long, brushing the attic ceiling. "You are curious," she hissed. "Curiosity is weakness. You looked, you opened, you summoned me. Now you belong." Clara realized what the mirror really wanted. It wasn't just a haunt. It was to trap a living soul inside, to feed on life and fear forever. Her mind raced. The journals had mentioned a countermeasure, to look past the reflection, see the reality behind it, and force the spirit to acknowledge its own prison. Clara took a deep breath. "Veronica, you're not free. You never left this mirror." The shards wavered. Veronica screamed in rage, her form flickering. "Lies! I am eternal." Clara forced herself to look at the reflection she had ignored. The tiny cracks in the mirror's edge, the cage within it, the faint outline of a girl trapped decades ago. "You're trapped," Clara shouted, "and we won't be your prisoners." The vortex slowed. The whispers faltered. Veronica's form twisted and stretched as if trying to escape, but the cracks glowed brightly. Ethan clung to Clara, whispering, "Is it gone?" Clara's hands were burned from the shards, but the mirror was still, silent, motionless. For the first time, the attic was quiet. Veronica had recoiled, contained, but not destroyed. The attic was still. The shards lay scattered, inert as if exhausted. Clara knelt, brushing the dust away from the mirror's surface. Her hands still tingled from burns. Ethan sat beside her, pale but safe. I think it's gone," he whispered. Clara shook her head. "Not gone. Contained. For now." She remembered the journals. They had warned that Veronica's spirit would always be aware, waiting for another chance. Her curiosity, fear, or doubt could awaken it again. The attic felt heavy, almost alive. Clara realized that she had become a guardian, bound by choice and courage. She could seal the mirror, lock it away, but she could never forget. Ethan clung to her, still trembling. "Can it come back?" Clara took a deep breath. "Yes, but we know now. We know what it wants, and we can resist." She placed the shards carefully back into the old box. binding it tightly with rope and sealing it with wax. The attic light dimmed. The wind outside had calmed. The house felt normal again, almost welcoming. But Clara could feel it, the faintest tug, a whisper at the edge of her mind. A reminder. Curiosity awakens the eternal. She looked at Ethan. "We need to leave this attic alone. Forever." Ethan nodded, but even as they descended the stairs, a faint giggle echoed from above. Veronica was contained, but not gone. Days passed, but Clara couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching. At school, shadows seemed to linger longer than they should. Reflections in windows and lockers twisted briefly into hollow-eyed faces before snapping back to normal. Ethan refused to sleep without a nightlight. "I saw her," he whispered. "Veronica, in my reflection." Clara held his hand tightly. "You didn't. It's just your imagination." But deep down, she knew better. One evening, Clara returned to the attic, not to confront the mirror, but to check the box. It was still sealed, but the air around it hummed faintly, like a heartbeat. A whisper grazed her ear. "You can't hide from me. Forever." She spun around. No one, just the shadows stretching in the dim moonlight. At night, Ethan muttered in his sleep, "She's here. She wants me." Clara realized the truth. Veronica's presence wasn't just in the mirror. It had lingered in the house, in the shadows, waiting for fear to grow again. She made a vow. She would protect Ethan. She would never open the attic again. She would never let curiosity awaken the eternal. Yet every flicker of light, every whisper in the dark, reminded her that the horror wasn't gone. It was patient. And patience, she knew, was far more dangerous than rage. Clara woke to the sound of quiet giggles. Ethan was asleep beside her, but his nightlight flickered. Shadows stretched unnaturally across the walls. She felt it before she saw it, a cold presence in the room, brushing against her skin, whispering her name. Clara, her heart pounded. She grabbed the bedside lamp. The shadows recoiled slightly, but didn't disappear. The whisper became clearer. "She's waiting for you both." Clara remembered the box in the attic, the mirror, the shards. It wasn't enough to just seal them. Veronica had learned. Her spirit could sense fear, hesitation, curiosity. Ethan stirred. "Clara, she's here." Clara took a deep breath. "Stay calm. Don't look." The shadows moved closer. A reflection appeared in the dark window across the room. Hollow eyes stared back at them. Veronica's reflection, smiling. Clara grabbed Ethan, blocking the window with her body. She whispered, "We won't give her fear. We won't give her power." The air grew icy. The whispers became a chorus. Clara could feel the attic pull at them, stretching the house like elastic, tugging them back to the source. For hours, she held Ethan, chanting quietly to herself, remembering the journal's advice. Acknowledge the spirit, but deny it fear, deny it control. By dawn, the shadows had retreated slightly, leaving Clara exhausted but victorious for now. The attic waited silently, patient, watching. Weeks passed, and Clara tried to return to normal life. School, homework, friends, it all felt ordinary. But shadows lingered at the edge of her vision. The attic door remained locked, the mirror sealed in the box. Yet she could feel Veronica's presence, patient and silent. Ethan slept more soundly now, but sometimes muttered in his sleep. "She's waiting up there." Clara would go to the box, lightly tapping it. Each time, the air around it shimmered faintly, like a soft warning. Curiosity awakens her again. At school, mirrors in the hallways seemed to twitch, showing fleeting glimpses of hollow eyes before snapping back. Clara caught herself holding back fear, training herself and Ethan to never give into it. One evening, Clara's reflection in her bedroom mirror lingered too long. She froze. For a second, she thought she saw Veronica behind her, smiling, beckoning. But when she turned, the room was empty. The house was quiet, but the attic remained a silent sentinel. Veronica had been contained, but not defeated. She was patient, biding her time, thriving in the shadows, waiting for a moment of weakness. Clara understood something vital. Peace wasn't freedom. It was a fragile truce, and in that fragile truce, they lived, ever watchful, ever aware, ever cautious. Months passed, but Clara and Ethan never truly relaxed. The attic remained sealed, the mirror locked in its box, but Veronica's presence lingered in the corners of every room, in reflections, in shadows. Clara would sometimes hear soft giggles late at night, and Ethan's nightlight would flicker, though the power was stable. One evening, Clara looked at her reflection in the bedroom mirror. For a split second, Veronica's hollow-eyed grin mirrored her own. Clara's heart skipped, but she held her composure. She whispered, "We know now. We won't fear you. You don't control us." The reflection wavered, then returned to normal. But the air remained cold, heavy with silent warning. From the attic, faint scratching sounds echoed through the house, patient, deliberate, waiting. Clara understood the truth. Veronica would never leave. She had been contained, but not destroyed. She was eternal, lurking in the shadows, feeding on curiosity, growing stronger each time they faltered. Clara and Ethan lived their lives cautiously, teaching themselves to resist curiosity, fear, and temptation. But the attic, the mirror, and Veronica waited, ever patient. And in the stillness of night, when the house was silent and shadows stretched long, a faint whisper echoed in Clara's mind. "I'm still here, watching, waiting. The horror never ends. It only waits."